Hello everyone and welcome to the 7th episode of Winnemucca. Today is going to be a special episode. One of the viewers asked me to use my real voice instead of an AI voice. This is the first try today. Let's see how it goes. Let me know in a comment which one you prefer. Today we are going to expand the heart of Winnemucca. I'm placing two parks. One playground for the kid and a dog park. I'm going to build a street using World Builder. This street will consist of a 3-meter traffic lane in each direction, on the left a 1-meter shoulder, and on the right a 5-meter sidewalk with parallel parking. I'm putting back the trees I had removed. I'm using net lanes to create a pedestrian path between Saint-Régis Street and the cemetery. I'm also adding a section that leads to the church. I'm placing invisible pedestrian paths on the net lane I just had, as well as the ones in the cemetery. This way, people can actually use them as a shortcut. I'm also adding a few entrance and exit to the cemetery. This will allow people to use it to get from one side to the other side. Now I'm adding a fence all around the cemetery while keeping the entrance and exit clear. I decided to move the hearses. I'm going to take them out of the clinic parking lot and place them right next to the church. I'm also adding a small street behind it to create more parking space for the cemetery. Of course, I'm adding an asphalt surface with curbs to make it look more defined and polished. I'm using chevron markings to indicate the no parking zone. Next to the church plaza, all the way to the pedestrian path I just installed, I'm placing a park. I'm going to use the same texture for the park as I did for the pedestrian path. I'll use a road I made with World Builder for a segment of Saint-Régis Street. A 3 meters lane in each direction with a 3.5 meter sidewalk and no parking on either side. Right in front of the clinic, I'm going to create a road with World Builder. I give it a 3 meters traffic lane on each side. On the left, a 7 meter sidewalk with 90 degrees parking, and on the right, a 5 meter sidewalk with parallel parking. I'm now placing some small apartment block and single family home. I'm making custom parking lot for the small apartment block. Once again, I forgot to record a part of my session. You just saw a lot of detail appear on the road and the parking lot. Sorry for forgetting to record again. Thanks to my ADHD. I'm adding detail to the driveway, sidewalks and street. After all, it's the oldest neighborhood in the city, so it's pretty run down. Right across the cemetery, I'm going to create a row of single-family houses and a few apartment blocks. I'm selecting the asset I want practically one by one. I'm customizing them a little bit with grass and driveway surfaces, and also with some fence and cedar hedges. I try not to use the exact same surface for every house, I like to vary it a bit. Where there are bushes and trees, I often use grass surface with leaves on top and a more neatly mowed surface where there are no trees and shrubs. I try to vary the grass texture. For the grass, I sometimes use decals instead of just surface. Grass isn't identical everywhere. Sometimes a bit yellowish, sometimes a bit greener. I use net lanes instead of surfaces to create the entrance path for the apartment blocks. I'm going to create a custom parking spot here for those 2 small apartment blocks. I'm adding a net lanes to the street to give it some wear and tear. I'm doing the same with the driveway and parking lots. And here is the little street next to the cemetery once finished. A nice simple result. Now I'm installing power lines to add a bit of realism. Here I'd like to create a sort of shopping complex with an old-style inner courtyard. So I'm using the mixed hall town assets. I'm trying to fill the lot as best as I can with these assets. I move them around, delete some, and pick new one, until it's exactly how I want it. I want to make sure the inner courtyard isn't too cramped so I can fit some parking spots and enough room for a dining area. In front of the entrance on Saint-Régis Street, I'm changing this street section to have 19th degree parkings on the building side. After changing the street, I can't forget to readjust all the surrounding details. I'm using a surface from the whole city pack number 1. I'm going to create seating for the restaurant and some parking space inside as well, and I'm making sure everything is properly connected. In front of the entrance, I'm adding another chevron surface. A few trees on the side, some dirt and wear and tear to show that it's a high traffic area. I'm actually pretty happy with the result. Let's move on to the lot behind the complex. I'm using one of the best modes out there right now, Advanced Building Control. With this mod, you can do incredible things like changing the household count on asset. It's one of the most useful features. For example, these are 36 households in the small asset. I think that's way too much, so I'm bringing it down to 16. Thanks to StarQ for creating this mod. I'm trying to switch things up by using new net lanes to decorate and driving my decals and texture. I'm going to make a custom parking lot from them too. You'll notice I try to provide at least one parking spot per household. You don't always get it right on the first try. It often happens that I place something down only to remove them and start over. I said one spot per household. Here you'll see I'm placing 32 spots. That's because I'm going to have the exact same building right next door. It will be a shared parking lot for both buildings. What's also great about Advanced Building Control is that when you change a property of an asset, all the other identical assets you place will have the same setting. I'm placing a little fish and chip shop along the street. I'm moving the dumpster back. Next to the building, I'm going to create a small custom park using a new RZ mode, the Rock Pack. These rocks are a bit bigger than vanilla ones, but smaller than those in Cliff and Rocks mode. It's a great rock size. I'm also adding benches right in front with some trees and concrete surfaces under the benches. I'm adding long grass, shrubs, and flowers. Different grass surfaces near the rock to show that's less maintained, and better maintained grass for the rest of the park. I'm separating everything with a row of bushes. Now I'm rendering the parking lot for those two buildings. I'm going to place another apartment block and a small semi-detached home that I'll create using row houses. A tiny custom parking lot that's quick to put together. I'm using Japanese fence assets. These assets have a concrete base with wood on top, so I'm sinking them into the ground a bit to only show the wood. I'm customizing the row houses that I have used to make the semi-detached home. I give them parking spots in front. Where I live, all the row houses have parking in the front. Now I'm moving on to detailing the rest of the lot. I'm dressing up the street and sidewalk with various surface, net lanes and decals. I'm checking to see if I like the look, and yes, I really like it. Now I'm going to build a slightly more high-end building. I'm placing parking spots in group of 3, separate them by concrete pillars. I'm changing the surface under the building to something a bit more elaborate. And to show that the building is fancier than you might think, I'm even using brick netlings for the parking space, which I'll adjust with Move It so the grass doesn't clip through. I'm extending the pedestrian surface all the way to the end of the parking lot. I'm using a curb to clearly separate the brick and the grass. I'll use a paver surface for the driving lane inside the parking lot. 2 small trees on the side. Let's add some decal for realism. Every time I finish the corner, I try to detail it immediately. That way, I don't have to come back and do a long detailing session later. I'm using the cellar residence right above the luxury building. I'm cutting into the main street a bit to add 19 degrees parking space along the shops. It will be a small commercial street with a few residences using mixed-use buildings. I'm using Japanese, Australian, and North American buildings. I'm placing a parking lot for the residents of these mixed buildings, and I'm connecting everything to the street with invisible path. Adding chevron surface in the front of the entrance. I've taken the Chubby Rock School from the Chinese asset, which I customized the entrance door with a static asset to give it a bit more character. I'm placing a playground next to it and try to make it feel like it's a part of the school as a courtyard. Here I'm trying something new for a sort of flower bed. I'm taking the flower and bushes I need and sinking them into the ground. I don't love the result, so later in the video I'll end up deleting it. I'm adding a fence all around to show that the playground is actually the school courtyard. A new technique here that I have learned: two-tone asphalt. It might not look good right now, but once it's detailed, it looks much better. I'm trying something else this time. I'm putting down long grass and sinking it into the ground along with flowering bushes. I like the result much more than what I did in front. Not only does it look good, but it also moves. Between the school and the luxury building, I'm placing an apartment building and its parking. I'm using my two-tone asphalt technique in this lot as well. I'm layering irregular asphalt decays over the road marking to create a weathered look. Personally, I love the result. It looks quite realistic. Of course, we are adding the power lanes. In old village like this, power lanes are everywhere. And there we go, another little corner finished. I'm going to step up the details in the similar residence by adding curbs to the entrance. I'm doing my new two-tone asphalt technique again for the mixed-use commercial street parking. I really love this technique. It's the first episode I've used it in, and I think I'll be using it a lot more often. I'm removing the invisible path to add a real alley, so I can place 2 functional parks for the resident in this area. Now I'm dressing up the street and sidewalk around this neighborhood. I'm covering the main intersection with a paver surface and using different curbs for the crosswalk. For the first time, I can finally finish a ditch. I'm using the same technique to keep it consistent. The same plants and the same surface. I'm making a small wooded area to separate the farmland from the village. I'm adding a raised curb planter in the middle of the sidewalk. I'm adding some dirt on the side along with some bushes and a tree inside. Now I'm going to place my first road service center. I'm putting it right next to the garbage service, and I'm also modified the sign at the entrance to show that there are 2 services. And that's all for the 7th episode of Winnemucca. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I really love to know in the comments if you prefer my real voice or if I should go back to an AI voice. Hope I'll see you on the next episode.